going on, everyone? So the Mark Williams saga just keeps getting juicier and juicier, right? Pause. But Mark Williams recently responded and talked about how he didn't believe he failed his physical, that he thought, that everything went well. He was surprised, kind of caught off guard by him failing said physical, right? Well, his agent recently came out yesterday and said that basically it's all nonsense, that the Lakers are wrong, and trying to essentially allude to they just got cold feet about it, right? Like even Mark Williams said that I don't think it had anything to do with my health, right? Like they keep kind of trying to send this sentiment that like, oh, Lakers they didn't want to give up what they had to give up to get him. But statement from Jeff Schwartz of Excel Sports Management. This is coming from Shams. The overwhelming sentiment after conferring with multiple nationally recognized doctors is that the Los Angeles Lakers should not have failed Mark Williams on his physical. He also said Mark was ready and able to play for them and should have been given the opportunity. Again, this is according to his agent. A couple of things about this, right? We'll talk about the Lakers side of things first. Like, what is Jeff Schwartz been supposed to say? Is he supposed to come out and be like, yeah, Mark Williams, no, it's his guy, right? He also gets paid by Mark Williams getting paid, right? Like he's trying to send this sentiment out. It's PR, right? That's what this is. This is PR. Again, if the Lakers really just got cold feet and didn't want to do this, there are other ways to go about it, right? Like they could have used the foot and the back issue as commitment, right? They could have said like, hey, that, we have concerns after doing just our due diligence. That was the issue. No, they said it was something completely irrelevant. Like it was something not in regards to that. Not just that. Why would the Lakers looked like geniuses getting Mark Williams? Yes, was it an overpay? Sure. But the consensus thought was like Lakers might win the championship this year. Right? Like the idea that the Lakers just got cold feet is silly. If that's true, why haven't the Hornets talked about it, right? Like the Hornets, the only statement that we've gotten from the Hornets side of things was that press release where he was like, he was our guy, he was this, he was that, right? Like, again, like why not challenge it then, right? Like if you really are that confident that Mark Williams is healthy and there's no issues or no nothing, right? At least, even if the Lakers win, right? Because they are in their rights and they have their due diligence, at least now you go in and you can at least present your case, right? Obviously, that information is going to get out, right? The Hornets are just okay with letting Mark Williams' trade value just get tanked. They're just willing and okay with this whole situation just playing out the way that it did. No, it doesn't make sense, right? Like, the Lakers have the documentation, right? Mark Williams' agent, Jeff Schwartz, he didn't come out and go, here's testimonials from 5 doctors that all say he's fine and that he didn't fail any physicals, right? He didn't come out and say the Lakers tested him on these 5 criterias, right? And we did the same tests and he passed all 5 tests, right? Like, you don't have to disclose what the Lakers, because that's the thing, right? Like Lakers can't just come out and be like, hey, this is what's wrong with him, right? Because again, you have doctor-patient privileges and stuff, confidentiality and things like that. Lakers can't get sued, the NBA can't get sued. But you can still, if you're Mark Williams and his agent, right? The agents could have came out and been like, oh, like, we ran tests, right? When we got the thing back from the Lakers, here's the proof, here's the documentation, right? Like, we can't reveal what that was, but these are the tests that they ran. We ran the same test and he passed all 5 tests or whatever it is, right? Like you could spin it a million other ways. Who are these doctors, right? Anyone can just I could just come on and be like, look, hey, I talked to 5 doctors in and around Los Angeles, and they told me personally that Mark Williams had the worst physical we have ever seen. Like anyone could just say that stuff, right? Anyone could just make that up, right? Who are these doctors? Nationally, what? So the Lakers just didn't use, who are their doctors? Their doctors are what? Just like some random guys going through med school right now? No, they have the top doctors in the world that are doing these tests, right? Who are those doctors? What are those doctors? Again, it's easy for Mark Williams' agent to just come out and be like, well, we talked to 5 doctors and they all said that there's no reason he passed his physical. Okay, well, what are those criterias? Right? Is he healthy to play right now? Yes. The Lakers said that they're not worried about those things. They're worried about his long-term health. It's why Luka got traded from Dallas. It's why Dallas was willing to ship out Luka, because they were worried about how he's going to hold up long-term, and they're worried that he's going to break down over time. That was the Lakers' thing. Lakers didn't come out and say like, oh, hey, we have concerns about the injuries we already know about. They said the opposite. They said we're confident that his foot and his back issue are fine. Then they did the physicals. They said that they saw the documentation that the Charlotte Hornets presented, right? They looked at that and they were like, okay, they were confident that his foot and his back were fine. Then they did their own physicals and found something else, right? Because if it was the foot or the back thing, they probably would have relayed that. We probably would know that information because that information's already public, right? Like, no, it has to be something else. Why would the Lakers ruin and risk their reputation via trade partners, right? Because you can always find little nuances. You can find always little like knickknacks. Like the guy has a sprained thumb and we're worried that could affect his shooting and his lob threat ability, right? Like you can always just come up with an excuse. But again, this wasn't a move that was like questionable to begin with. This was a move that like the Lakers desperately needed, made a ton of sense. So the Lakers would rather go through the cold feet issue, right? Then get a center, potentially win a championship, keep Luka, who could just leave in another year, right? Like, and run the risk of him getting upset and bothered. Go through all the criticism and everything for what? Because they got cold feet? Make it make sense. It doesn't make sense, right? That the Lakers would back out of this deal when everybody was like, wow, they really pulled that out. Like, the media, Laker haters, everybody was like, dude, the Lakers might be the best team in the NBA after the Mark Williams trade, right? Like, again, why would the Lakers go and risk everything that they'd have to risk in order for this to fall through? And why wouldn't the Hornets push harder? Look, I talked about how I think it's full, like no one loses but the Hornets, but now Mark Williams and his agent are on a campaign tour trying to discredit the Lakers and say that. Okay, so then why don't the Hornets now go and appeal that? Right? Even if you lose it, guess what? Now all the information probably comes to light because they're going to a trial style thing. So that means all that information is going to be public. You know why? Because there probably is issues and there probably is concerns and they don't want to tank his trade value more than it already is, right? Or they don't want that information public, right? Like one of the big problems in Mark Williams, because I've seen a lot of people that are like, well, why is he playing for the Hornets? Ask any Hornets fan. And if any Hornets fan are watching this video, please comment down below. And because I've gotten a lot of comments from Hornets fans. I've talked to a lot of Hornets fans, right? Hornets YouTubers and stuff like that have even talked about this issue. The Charlotte Hornets regularly force or rush Mark Williams back from injury. It's why he keeps getting hurt. He ends up going down. He needs to miss 2 or 3 weeks. And then what ends up happening is they bring him back a week later, and then he gets hurt again after 5 games, and everyone thinks that he's just injury prone, right? Because they don't let him marinate. They don't let him recover from his injury. It's been a problem since he got in the league that the Charlotte Hornets regularly rush him back, and he keeps getting hurt, which means that they're not properly doing their due diligence. It means they're properly not analyzing. Their doctors are saying, hey, this guy needs to miss 2 weeks. And they're going, yeah, okay, sounds good. Hey, you good? Tape it up? All right, let's go. Right? Like, what's the point? We're supposed to trust them and their doctors, right? When the guy keeps regularly getting hurt. Again, it makes no sense for the Lakers to just back out of this just because they got cold feet. It made more sense for them to go through with it, right? If the Lakers do that trade and they win a championship this year and he falls apart next year, who cares? You won. Right? You have the next few years to figure it out, right? Or if you win multiple, Lakers win the next 2 years, right? They win, let's say this year with Mark Williams and next year with Mark Williams, and then he falls apart. Who cares? You won 2 championships. It was worth it, right? Like, unless he just falls apart, but then guess what? If he falls apart this year, then the Lakers were right? Again, like, either way, it makes no sense for the Lakers to pull this out. And if they did make the trade and it falls apart, they can at least default to like, hey man, like this guy is an all-star caliber, right? Like you still look good. You still try, right? You're going to have fans that are going to like complain, oh, you got fleeced and blah, blah, blah. But they're going to cry regardless, right? Like, so again, regardless, you should have done the trade. It made no sense for them not to do the trade. Zero. Outside of there were medical issues. And again, the Lakers can't just blanket statement. There we go. Words are hard. Lakers can't just put out a blanket statement that he failed his physical. They have to have documentation on that. Right? Like, which means they can show the NBA. They showed the Charlotte Hornets have probably seen the medicals. Right? They probably know what the medicals are because they probably want to know, like, what did you find that we didn't? Right? And the Lakers probably had to highlight. Again, they had to alert the NBA because the trade was getting finalized. Right? And then the Lakers backed out of the trade. The NBA, we think the NBA is just like, okay. Like, no, the NBA has to know why. Right? So that means the Lakers had the documentation, showed it to the NBA, showed it to the Charlotte Hornets, and said, this is why we're backing out of the deal. He failed the physical. Here's what he failed on. Right? This is why we moved on. Otherwise, again, if the Hornets, and I understand people look at it and go, well, do you know how hard it is to win that appeal? Well, one, if Mark Williams really is healthy, all that information's coming to light, which makes the Lakers look bad and you look good and restore his trade value. So that could be good. And two, the only other precedent we ever had was the Portland situation back in like the 80s or whatever it was, right? Like, again, that was also, we have a completely different commissioner. We have completely different rules and regulations for trades and all kinds of stuff, right? Like, if he was perfectly healthy and fine and the Lakers just solely backed out, let's say that they just only backed out strictly for cold feet, right? Then the Hornets have an argument. They can go to the organization, go to Adam Silver, go to the NBA and be like, look, there's nothing wrong with him. Here's all our documentation. Here's all our proof. Here is all this X, Y, and Z, right? Here, Lakers are arguing this. Here's our counterpoint, right? Like, but they're not. They decided, nah, it's not worth it, right? For weeks, all we heard was that this was going to happen and that they were going to do it. We even got reports that they already filed. And then Adam Silvers came out and said, nah, it didn't happen. Again, like, if the Hornets really believed that there was nothing wrong with Mark Williams, why wouldn't you at least go through the appeal process? Right? Why wouldn't you at least want that information to come to light? Right? Because if Mark Williams is saying he's healthy, he's talking about his medicals, right? Jeff Schwartzman is out here talking about, hey, man, we talked to doctor. Doctor said he's fine. Fine, show us that documentation then, right? Like, or use that in your case. He got evaluated by several doctors, nationally accredited doctors. Okay, well then isn't that more evidence to back up your case? Even if you don't make it public, that's more information that you have to go and challenge this ruling and work out the trade. Why wouldn't you do that if you were that confident? It's just, again, it's PR. It's what it is. It's PR. They're trying to save face because Mark Williams isn't going to get the money that he probably would have gotten otherwise, because the Hornets are probably not going to want to pay him what they want to pay him. Other teams are not going to want to pay him what they want to pay him because of this. It tanked his value, tanked his trade value, and it tanked the money he's going to get. And how does the agent get paid? Interesting. Maybe how agents make their money. Come on. Of course his agent's going to come out and be like, no, look, he's fine. He's healthy. He deserves a bag. Yeah, of course what are you going to say? No, your client is falling apart and deteriorating. No, it's not that. You'd be the worst agent ever. That's the case. It's PR. But let me know your thoughts and opinions down in the comments. Do you agree, disagree, mixed in the middle? However you feel, whatever your thoughts are. I'd love to hear it out of the way. So let me know down in the comments below. That being said, if you haven't liked this video, hit that like button. Helps me out. So we enjoy these types of videos and I truly appreciate it. Not subscribe channel, hit that subscribe button. Turn on the bell notifications. Appreciate y'all. See you in the next one. Thank you.